لا إله إلا الله لا إله إلا الله لا إله إلا الله.
Assalamu alaikum, brothers and sisters. Thank you for joining me in this video 12, where I'll be looking at diets, diabetes and diabetic complications like DKA or diabetic ketoacidosis. The diet I proposed in video 11 is from my journey from normal, what I used to think was a normal sort of healthy lifestyle, healthy diets and so on. So just under 2 years ago in Ramadan, I was going through a bit of a stressful time in terms of having multiple interviews per day in preparations and fasting at the same time and so on. So my body was under stress, and also the fasting combination, lack of sleep. I found myself in hospital, in a bed in hospital with 4 drips, and I was told I was literally 7 to 8 days away from death because of this complex, dangerous situation I was in called diabetic ketoacidosis, DKA. Now, what is it? How do you get there? What are the signs? What happened? I mean, I had a checkup, my blood was, I had a sort of screening checkup literally just over 2 months before Ramadan. And I specifically asked them to check my sugar levels and everything to do with diabetes. And the report showed that everything was normal, excellent. There was nothing, there were some numbers which I didn't understand at that time, but now I do understand. So my ketones in the blood level were something like 0.2, which is, normal, average, and very good. So the range of ketones in the blood, the normal range is from 0 to 0.6 millimoles per liter. So my health check report showed I was on the very good side. However, 2.5 months later, I am in hospital with drips, sort of stabilizing my glucose level in the body, stabilizing my ketone levels, hydrating my body. I was literally 7 to 8 days away from death, and I was lucky I got there before I fell into a coma, because when you are in DKA situation, within hours you'll be in a coma, and within 7 to 8 days you're dead. That's all it is. So diabetes. What is type 1 and type 2? So for decades now, they've only been talking about, say, 2 types of diabetes, type 1 and type 2. Type 1 is where the pancreas stops producing insulin. We all need insulin to manage the sugar level in the blood. We all need glucose in the blood in order to live. The brain needs glucose in the blood in order to function. So without glucose, we will all die anyway. So without sugar, without glucose in the blood, we will die. So, and almost everything we eat has some sugar in it, and the body produces this hormone called insulin, which regulates the glucose level in the blood so that it doesn't get too high, because if it gets too high, it becomes a poison and it starts destroying parts of your body, like your eyes and kidneys, and leads to a stroke, and it leads to a heart attack and so on. So this is something that even diabetics may not understand. What is this ketoacidosis, diabetic ketoacidosis? Also the word ketones. I mean, you may have heard of keto diets or starvation diets. It's the same thing. What this diet is, you starve your body so that your body goes and gets the energy, the glucose from the fats. So literally you are burning the fat away. And you combine that with exercise, and you see the fat is sort of being sort of destroyed, and you become lean. And however, if you are diabetic or pre-diabetic, there is this complication that you may put too many ketones in your blood, and you may find yourself in a coma, days away from death, rather than being healthy and so on. So anyway, I came out of hospital with the diagnosis that I was type 1. I needed to take like 3 times 6 units of insulin, 3 before 6 units before each meal, and 1 other dose for the overnight. So plus 1 metformin tablets before each meal. So that's how I came out of hospital. Luckily, 3 days later, when I went back to hospital, I was talking to the nurse, being inquisitive and so on. I wanted to know more, how do people manage this diabetes, especially type 1? Has there been any exceptions? She said, oh yes, we had 1 exception. And this man, after like a few months or so, he didn't need any insulin anymore. He was only metformin. So he's been on only metformin for the last 3 or 4 years, whatever. So that sort of rang a bell in my mind. I said, oh, well, it's possible to reverse it, although the chances are very small. She said, like, they only had 1 person, and 1 out of, say, maybe 10,000 or something. It's a very small chance. However, when Allah wants to send information to you, it may be sent more than once by different people. So 10 days later, I was with the GP's nurse, diabetic nurse, and I was having the same conversation. And she also, when I asked about exceptions and how do you manage and how do people manage this, she says, oh yeah, we had this guy who came off. He was the only one, she said. We have thousands of people registered with us. There was only 1 person, and he managed to come off both insulin and metformin. And he said, by the way, he was a Spanish origin. Another sort of thing, another thought went into my mind. We, from the northern parts, most of us have between 40 and 50% of Hispanic genes, or the Iberian gene. So I said, well, it could be that. I mean, it could be. I don't know, but maybe it's not a genetic thing. It could be a lifestyle thing. It could be whatever. So the main thing is, I was told twice. There was only 1 exception from the hospital and 1 exception from the GP. They were not the same person, because one was still on metformin, the other one was off both of them, and had been both off both of them for about 3 years. So that made me think, well, now I'm going to go and investigate. So I started investigating, videos on YouTube, articles, download articles. What is diabetes? Can anyone reverse it? How do they reverse it? Brothers and sisters, the diets that I mentioned, the good Muslim healthy diet, is exactly how you can either control diabetes or even reverse diabetes. All you have to do is follow that diet. Diet with very low sugar, or very low carbohydrates. Reduce bread, and if you want to have some bread, have some brown bread, but only a small amount, like 1 slice in the whole day or something. Yes, you can have porridge. Porridge is okay because it's sort of it releases the sugar slowly. It doesn't spike in the same way as bread does, or cakes, or rice, whatever. So yes, you can have some bread, 1 or 2 slices a day, no more, but have lots of vegetables and fruits and nuts. Nuts are also excellent, and pulses. So pulses and nuts, have more of those, more beans and more nuts, walnuts, cashew nuts. All the nuts are good. I have peanuts sort of regularly, but I have tried to find peanuts with low sugar. And again, you really have to do a lot of work to find things like chocolate with low sugar, or peanuts with low sugar, or cereals with low sugar. I looked everywhere, in all the major stores and all the major stores, or small ones as well. And in terms of, say, chocolate with the lower sugar I only found it in Sainsbury's and in Aldi. It's dark chocolate, which I will show in this video, with 1 gram of sugar per serving or less. So most other sugars have like 15, 20 grams, 30 grams, because people sort of, it's the sweetness which they like most. So, I found, say, some cereals with less than 0.5 grams per serving. That's excellent. So that's what I have for breakfast, porridge or cereals with very low sugar, and I have substituted milk as well. So milk has a form of sugar called lactose. So there's a number of types of sugar: lactose, sucrose in fruits, lactose in milk, glucose in the sugary things, in sugar itself. So these are the 3 main types. So fruits have natural sugar called fructose. So try not to eat too much of the very sweet fruits, like oranges and so on. They do have quite a bit of sugar, but fruits like which are not so sweet to the taste are good. Strawberries, raspberries, they don't have too much sugar. They're very good for diabetics and for general health. Apples, have an apple a day. Apple doesn't have too much sugar. It has some. Well, bananas, they do have, but if you like bananas and you eat them regularly like I do with, say, breakfast, have bananas which are not so ripe, because when they're not so ripe, they don't have as much sucrose, as much sugar as when they are ripe. The riper they are, the more the banana has produced, say, sucrose, the sweeter it tastes anyway. So, if you are diabetic and you want to have bananas regularly, don't have them very ripe, So, changing the diets can help diabetics either reduce insulin, or if you are at the early stages and you may not really be type 1 like me, you could be some other type. You might be one of the rare exceptions. I mean, I didn't know I was an exception until I, gradually weaned myself off insulin and then weaned myself off metformin. It took me 3 months each. Within like 6 months, I was off both of them. I've been off insulin and metformin for more than a year now, a year and 2 months or so. And how have I kept my sugar level sort of within normal? It's by the diets that I mentioned in video 11, the exercise, the regular walking, regular exercise, not very hard exercise, but just walking 40 minutes to an hour a day, reducing the sugar intake, checking everything before I buy food. Even if you love chocolate, then go for those chocolates that I mentioned. I substituted milk and so on. And by doing this, and also try to reduce the stress by not putting myself in stressful situations, or if I have to, then I am mindful not to overstress, not to overdo the preparations or whatever, just manage the situation. And alhamdulillah, I have been off both insulin and metformin for more than a year. It may last for many more months or years, it may last only for some more months. Allah knows best, but at least the diets, the exercise, the sleep, the stress management does wonders. So if you are diabetic already, and you have been, then the diet will help you reduce the level of metformin and insulin that you take anyway. And if you're not, then say alhamdulillah, the diet is good anyway. It will help keep you healthy for the rest of your life. Thank you very much, brothers and sisters, for joining me. I hope this video has been helpful.